from this picture is mostly adults only. It's mostly laid back, a real big beach, and you just veg and hang out all day, and that's paradise to me.
Nightlife in Naples is 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I've got a couple of friends that live there. Yeah.
Everything just stops.
Eh, I don't know. We go to bed early. We get up. We go to bed, yeah, early. We get up early. And I always tell people our evening time is our morning time. We that's when we're reading the news and newspapers and chit chatting about stuff. And by the time the evening comes and we have dinner and everything, we're both getting tired.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are live streaming, and so anything that you don't want the public to know, don't say it. Up to and including, what's going on in Florida. But um, I'm going to mute everybody now. We're going to get started. So it's good to see everybody. You guys have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Lexington, Kentucky, February the 26th, 2026. Is this not a great day to be a Rotarian? Tell me it's a great day. No snow, the weather's out there, it's a little rainy, but hey, what the heck? This is a great day to be a Rotarian. Whew, boy. And I have not been drinking anything. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here, and I'd also like to welcome our people who are joining us by Zoom. Thank you for being here, and now we will have our inspiration four-way test pledged by Jenny Schnurr.
All right, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right, please have a seat. It's lovely to see a full room on a rainy, dreary February day. February can be kind of a tough month. We don't have a lot of holidays. We've got cold weather, not much to break up all of the doom and gloom. But I want to focus on something that's interesting happening around the world. Across a lot of different cultures and traditions, many people are entering a season of reflection. Last week marked the beginning of the Lunar New Year, moving into the year of the fire horse, if you're following such things. It was also the beginning of Lent and Ramadan. While all of these traditions are very different, they do share some commonality. They invite people to pause. For those who observe Lent, it's a time of reflection, sacrifice, and renewal, a chance to let go of distractions. Maybe some people are going on a social media hiatus during Lent. I know a lot of Brett's raising his hand. I knew there were some people out there. But it's time to refocus on what's most important to you. During Ramadan, many Muslims fast from sunrise to sunset, not just as an act of discipline, but also as a way to grow in empathy, generosity, and awareness of others. And with the Lunar New Year, people take time to clear out the old, literally cleaning their homes before the end of the year, setting aside what's left unfinished and stepping into the new year with intention, hope, and a fresh start. So all three of these traditions are very different in some ways, the festivals and the different ways that people celebrate, but there's also a similar invitation to step back from the noise of everyday life and ask some bigger questions. I think there's something really meaningful about the fact that this year, all three of these are happening right at the same time. In a world that can feel really divided, moments like these remind us that we have more in common with people across the globe than we may think. A desire to grow, to give, and to live with purpose. And I think that's something worth remembering, especially when we come together in spaces like this. Rotarians across the globe are a diverse group of people with different backgrounds, experiences, and beliefs, but we come together not because we're all the same, but because we share a commitment to service above self, to make things better for people around us. So as we move through this season, whatever it means to you in your heart, I would like to offer you a chance to reflect, to pause, and ask yourself, where can I show up with more intention? Am I living in alignment with my values? And what is it time to let go of? Because sometimes it's not about doing more, but it's about being more intentional with what we're already doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Very appropriate. Now for the introduction of guests, Rotarian Frey McCallie. Are you going to do this? You're not Trey McCallie.
Well, sometimes. He's my broker, so sometimes we fill in for each other. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm a little late in my time frame here. We have three guests with us today. David Brian Blundell, guest of Reverend David Blundell. We have Graham Priest. Graham, would you like to, there we go. Who's my guest. And Scott Anderson, guest of Brett Anderson. We heartily welcome all of you and encourage you to learn more about the wonderful mission of Rotary and what all we do, and I hope to have you back for many, many more. Thank you.
I'd like to add one other special guest that we have with us, Councilman James Brown. Would you please stand? Okay, would you please?
Oh, bye.
Well, to all of our guests, we welcome you back and hope that you'll enjoy yourself today. We're always recruiting new members and quality members at that. So please feel free to come back and feel free to join us if you can. Now we'll have our lottery. Tom?
Ace of diamonds.
Looking for the ace of diamonds. And how much money do we have in the pocket?
About $770.
About $770. So for the last three digits, 415. 415. Oh, look, he's got it.
Where do you want? Biggest things here. Where's what?
Get one more. Wow. Hey, get you. All right. Next number is last three digits, 437. 437.
Oh.
Okay, well, thank you for playing anyhow. Celebrating birthdays this week, we have Jeff Stone, Roger Bear, Jen Foster, Tom Lester, Jeff Thompson, and Tom Hathaway. So let's give them a Rotary send-off. Their birthday. The announcements, we have a monthly lunch sponsor. We want to again thank Blue Million for their contributions to our website and of course for sponsoring a lunch for the month of February. We have either Tim or Patrick, are you all, one of you like to come forward and, okay. This is Tim Campbell.
So we just wanted to say how much we've enjoyed presenting these lunches this month. So if anyone working on other sponsors wants a testimonial, we're all in. This is a fantastic organization with so many opportunities and so many partnerships. There's really nothing like it in Lexington. So we've been really impressed with what we've done. So to keep under my 30 seconds, we've worked with Rotary. We're really excited today to hear today's speaker because we've done some similar things with Greenhouse 17. So I think you're going to hear the story of something very innovative, very important. So it'll be a great visit today, and we're looking forward to it, as I'm sure you are. Thank you all.
We'd like to thank Blue Million again for their contribution and for the month of February. I'd like to have a sponsor for March. Now, if you are able to sponsor, here are some of the things you would get. First of all, you get your logo in the banner in our newsletter. You get podium time, 30 seconds each week, and you get 6 lunches. You can spread that out any way you want to, and a chance to promote your place of business at the welcome table outside. So if any of you are interested, please step up and do that for the month of March. I think we've got our other months pretty well covered. With that, let me also encourage you, March the 17th is St. Patrick's Day, and we, a tradition, usually march in a parade, and we encourage you to come out and bring your family and friends and join us. The only thing that I have made a request is that if we are going to march in the parade, that we will not be placed behind the horses. You got my drift.
Doubles will be provided.
Also, tomorrow morning, we have our mixer from 8 to 9:30 in Lexington Green, and all are invited to come. This is an opportunity to network and to fellowship with fellow Rotarians, and also to introduce other people who might be interested in our organization to come out. So that's tomorrow morning, 8 to 9:30 at Lexington Green. Now we have the introduction of 2 new members, Jenny.
Y'all can't keep me away from this microphone. It is my honor and privilege to introduce Gary Crisp to the club. Speaking of the morning mixer, I met Gary several months back as he attended one of our monthly meetings over at 46 Solutions. They're not meetings, they're fun. Got talking to him and learned he had been a Rotarian previously in Akron, Ohio, which is where my brother and his family live. So we had a little bit of connection. And he generously offered to become a Rotarian right away, sponsoring Pickles and Pints last year, getting involved right from the beginning before we even made it official. And I had the pleasure of sitting down a couple weeks ago and learning all about Gary's history, which I can't follow the whole loop. He's been a lot of different places, done a lot of different things. So I encourage all of you to take the time to sit down, get to know him. He was in the 5th page a couple weeks ago because we had to reschedule this, but learn about Gary and welcome him to the club. Gary, here is your red badge.
And now we have Lyle Hannah to introduce our newest Rotarian.
Well, thank you very much. Well, so we have another new Rotarian. How about that? 2 in 1 week. This is awesome. This is David Levine. He grew up in Cleveland, went to Ohio State, but right after that, he moved to Lexington and he started working on horse farms. He worked for a variety of them. He even bought and raised some of his own horses. He kept his horses at a famous farm owned by Dr. Lang, our member. And so he kind of got to know probably about Rotary a little bit about back then. I don't know. But then he started working in the global securities, and he helped big businesses kind of come up with strategy and help move their businesses forward. He worked in Central America, South America, and other places around the world with people. But more recently, he's gravitated into financial management, helping people, individuals and families plan their finances, figure out what the best deal is, what we should invest in, how do you save your money for the long term, and so forth. So that's what he's been doing now. But meanwhile, he's raised 2 kids, and they're doing great. But one of them moved away to Nashville, And the other one is in
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. So he's got them kind of not too far away, but on either side of Lexington. So that's kind of fun. He also raises tropical fish if you need some dinners. No,
We could sponsor lunch.
yeah. But you know what? He loves working in the community. He's looking forward to working with us and getting to know people. So say hello to David and let's find a way to get to know him better and make him feel a strong member of this club. David, congratulations.
Thank you. I'll work that.
Well, we have over 36,000 Rotary clubs worldwide. We have some clubs are some large, significantly large clubs, ours being one. We're the 25th largest club in the world. We have over 34 different committees, and I'm setting that up because I want David and Gary to get involved, and I want you to help them to get involved because that is the key to retention and also the key to recruiting other members. So thank you for that. Also, a special thanks to Lyle Hanna. He's done an absolutely superb job for getting us good programs together. So let's give the man a that's a good. And I'd encourage you to check your wheel horse for future programs. We've got some wonderful programs online, so please check your wheel horse for that. Now I'd like to bring to the podium Jim Richardson for a special presentation.
Thanks. It is a great day to be a Rotarian, isn't it? Unlike normal, when I speak off the cuff and forget half of what I intend to say, I'm going to pay attention to what I have written down. Today, we're honored to welcome someone who has dedicated her life to protecting the most vulnerable among us. Many of you know the remarkable work of Greenhouse 17, a nationally recognized organization serving survivors of intimate partner abuse across central Kentucky. What you may not fully appreciate is the visionary leadership behind that work. Darlene Thomas has spent decades turning compassion into action. Under her leadership, Greenhouse 17 has grown from a local shelter into a model of holistic survivor-centered care, integrating safety, advocacy, therapy, children's services, and even a working farm that restores dignity and independence through meaningful work and healing. Her work reflects the very core of what we strive to embody at the Rotary Club of Lexington: service above self. Through courage, persistence, and a deep belief in human dignity, she has strengthened families, empowered survivors, and made our community safer and more compassionate. Darlene, we invited you here today under the pretense of sharing the powerful story of Greenhouse 17. And while we are grateful to hear that story, we are even more grateful for you. And it is my profound honor to share that today the Rotary Club of Lexington is recognizing not just the organization you lead, but the extraordinarily humanitarian you are. On behalf of this club and the countless lives you have touched, we are proud to present you with the Rotary Club of Lexington's Humanitarian of the Year Award. Come over here too. And step over here. Well, come on. I'll finish what I have to say.
Okay.
So this was intended to be a surprise. I think maybe it has been. I do want to thank the committee members of the Humanitarian Award, and I know if you stand up if you're here. Dean and Alicia. Anyway, this was something we started back in 2005. COVID came along and it disappeared. Oh, here's the real check. Don't try to cash this one. We have recognized, and next week we'll have in the wheel are some of the past recipients. You are truly a treasure to this community. And so now you can present whatever you want to present. And we may have taken, she said, what should I focus on? Darlene Thomas.
I don't know if it's appropriate to make a girl cry, but it surprised him in so many ways. I am so honored. I'm a little, if you know me at all, I rarely have a shortage for words. But I'm truly humbled and honored to be recognized. But I've got to always say this, that nobody gets anywhere alone. The only way anybody gets lifted up is as you have to allow yourself to be lifted and surround yourself by those individuals that you support to support you. And then you realize that it's the collective. It is always the collective that you stand with and stand alongside. So I'm greatly honored that I have an amazing group of people, including this community, that honestly, Greenhouse 17 wouldn't be Greenhouse 17 if it hadn't been for this community. I don't know if you know the beginnings of how all of this crazy, beautiful farm that we have out on the east side of Fayette County happened, but it kind of happened on the heels of a program that had been failing. And the United Way at that time had decided to pull its money and not support a program that had been around for 30 years. Like, it was a pretty hard, decisive decision by the United Way. And then they went to the state government, they went to local government, and collectively those individuals decided that there had to be a domestic violence program, that Lexington deserved to look at what the possibilities were. And at that time, I was at a different program in that other city we won't talk about down the road. And I happened to come. I showed up one day when the community was asked to come together and talk about what did they want in domestic violence world for their community. And I came. I just thought there would be about, I don't know, 20, 30 people there, mainly service providers who were vested in some of this work. And I walked into a tent of over 300 people. And it was at that moment, I had no intention at that time, but it was at that moment I said, if they would give me an opportunity, I would like to go and see if we could do something, unique, that was client-centered, that was forward-focused, future-focused, of really rethinking how this world could look for survivors and their children. And I was blessed and fortunate enough that a community group chose me and selected me as the executive director. I have been the only executive director. We just celebrated 21 years on February the 14th of our existence that we're very proud of. But in that journey, when I say we truly are a community organization, we are. It's been from the very beginning when those first 300 plus people said they wanted a different way to look at this work that began to take place and set the course. And I've had nothing but support and help ever since, even when I've had to ask for some really bizarre things, like a farmer. Yes, we do have a working farm. And when I had to say I need a farmer, there was nobody that would fund me. Try to go to traditional funders as a domestic violence program and say, I need a farmer. I need somebody to help me pay for a farmer. And they're looking at me like, have you lost your mind? Why do you need a farmer in a domestic violence, shelter program? And I said, because people and survivors deserve this place and space to explore their possibilities. And it is impossible to do if you just kind of keep survivors locked away in a facility that often seems filled with shame and embarrassment and humiliation, right? Because you're hiding. Even though somebody's done things to harm you, most survivors find themselves in this hiding space, in this embarrassment space. And what we wanted to do different, and we couldn't do it without community support, we wanted the community to celebrate survivors and to see them, not hide them. They need to be seen. And what we did is we went out on this 40-acre farm, and lots of people told me, what are you doing? Don't go out on the farm. How are you going to take care of it? I go, I don't know. I have no clue. I know how to mow grass. I know how to drive a tractor, and I know how to bush hog fields. And I did that for the first almost 18 years of our organization. Like, I can help take care of property. I know how to weed eat, but I didn't know how we were going to transport people and what it was going to look like. I didn't need to. I just needed to trust the evolution of the possibilities. That's what I needed to trust. And I needed to embrace what Lexington had to offer in our surrounding communities, because we have 17 counties in central Kentucky. And by the way, our coverage, we cover 4,000 square miles of service area for survivors. We serve over 6,000 men, women, children a year in our 17 counties. We house around 300. But when we started this farm and went out on the shelter, what happened is it just became really organic, I think, for survivors. It was a place where kids can run and play and climb trees and climb our buildings. Like I can't tell you how many times I've come in and kids on top of the building going, Darlene, like, get off the building, please. But they're kids, they get to play and be and just exist, even though what they've come through is a lot of trauma. The same is true for the adults, right? But it was this chance to get to explore and understand that they are much more than what's happened to them. So traditional shelters often really kind of focus always on the problem. This is what's happened to you. This is how you can work on yourself to resolve those issues, which is important work, very important work. And we do that work as well. But what we wanted to do was focus on not just what happened, but what do you bring to the world, right? What is it that somebody tried to take away from you? What value? And you play a role and a valuable role in our community, and then get the community to see that. And so part of our journey, and yes, we do all the traditional work. We go to courts, we provide support groups. I have a housing team that helps with housing services, and we follow people for years. We have child visitation and exchange centers so that children are exchanged safely with parents or visiting with parents who may be a risk to them until the courts can figure out what's going on. So we work really hard to fill the service gap. But people are more than just the service gap. They are part of our collective of healing, I think, even as a community, right? And so we wanted to introduce opportunity. So I say that, and I don't mean this in any kind of arrogant way at all, because it really has taken a village in many ways. But we are the only domestic violence program in the nation doing what we're doing. We have been a model. We've had people from as far away as California. Oh, no, excuse me. Far away that way as California, and as far across seas as Uganda, who have come to Greenhouse 17, who have come to Lexington to take witness of what we're doing and figuring out ways that they can model who that we are and take that back to their home communities and their growth. And we're really proud of that, because I think that's the best compliment ever, is that people want to emulate kind of what you're doing. And the emulation really is about how you move survivors from crisis to self-sufficiency, not in a traditional way. We're not a hidden organization. If you come to the farm, and we would love to have you come to the farm, we love tours and for people to visit. But our sign right out front says Greenhouse 17. We don't hide survivors, we protect them. Because they should not have to be the ones to not be seen in that sense. And then we invite the community out, and we started our own industries and businesses, because one thing that I was trying to learn as a nonprofit leader is that I'm constantly asking our community for your support and your help, and we need that, and I'm going to continue to ask for that. But what we weren't modeling was the ability to, if you're teaching self-sufficiency to others, how are we as nonprofits becoming self-sufficient? Right? What are we doing? So we started industries. We started with a small farm. We grew food. We had a wonderful individual out of Texas by the name of John Paul DeJoria, who heard about what we were doing, and they helped fund our farm. By the way, John Paul DeJoria is Paul Mitchell Hair Care Products, right? He came to the farm with his family, loved what we were doing, supported us for several years through a program called Grow Appalachia, because we serve 8 Appalachian communities as well. And we started growing food, and we were bringing in-house at a time that economically it was really tough, and food costs were rising. And we were able to supplement that and show families how they could do their own growth of food. Even if they only had an apartment with pickle buckets, you can grow tomatoes and fresh foods. We modeled that for a while. And then somewhere along the way, this wonderful gentleman at the time was Matt Stone, who was the head of UK or the state ag. And we said we wanted to start a farm, and he came out and he looked and he goes, "You are not ready for a farm." If he were here today, he would tell you, don't ever tell these stubborn women they're not ready for something. Because we just went out of there with more resolve than ever. We had no idea how we were gonna do it, but we did do it. So we grow our own food, then we started a flour CSA. That CSA now sells out in about 4 hours. We are at capacity, looking with many of our partners across Central Kentucky on how we can grow that industry, because there's so much room to growth for growth. And then we also started our own body products, because survivors said we should make body products. We should combine this purpose-driven from the farm, the things we're growing, the flowers. How can we incorporate that into our products? And so that's what we did. So now we make soaps and lip balms, and they're all handmade by survivors. They're incredible products that you can buy online anytime for gifts for people that already have everything. These are wonderful things. All that money goes back to survivors. Every dime of that goes back into pay stipends. So we are also the only domestic violence program in the nation that pays survivors to live with them. So you can earn about $600 through a stipend work, whether it's in-house, on the farm, or through our products, or farm to table, however best suits the individual. Nobody's required to do it, but most people want to do it. They earn about $600, and then we match that money with 900 more. So we overmatch that money with about 900 more, so that they have a little bit of seed money to fix their car, maybe get new tires, if they need uniforms for work, or they've gone back to school, or maybe their first month's rent, things like that, that help them stabilize and get back on their feet. And I say that it's not just about giving, there's that sense of belonging. And most survivors will say to me, I need to know that there's something more to me than what happened, and that I bring other value. So everything we think of at Greenhouse 17 is value added. Everything adds value if you work on it. People often ask me how, and I don't know what kind of time I have, sorry. What kind of brought me to this work? I don't know that I have the best answer by any means. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a home where I didn't have to witness intimate partner abuse, which is a blessing. Now that I've been doing this work for 36 years, I realized what a blessing it was not to have that in my world. But it doesn't mean it didn't touch my world. Might not have been my immediate world, but it did touch my world. But one of my earliest memories that probably had the longest impact for me, that I will never forget and have never forgotten, was I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I was on the banks of the Ohio River for a regatta. And I don't know if you all know about boat races, but if you're a river person, boat races are really important. And my brother would take me every year, and he told me to wait for him right there where he went to get the truck. And it was really muddy. It had rained all week long, so the banks of the Ohio was nothing but a mud fest. And the boat races were over, and I'm standing there doing what I was told, waiting for my brother to come get me. When I saw a man drag a woman by her hair down the middle of this huge mud patch, and he was kicking, she was screaming, she was hollering for her life, she was begging him to stop. She had somewhat become unclothed because she was in a bathing suit, because it was July, it was hot outside. And nobody did anything. And there was probably 50 to 100 people standing around. And I did nothing. I stood there too. And later in life, I kind of justified that I was 12 years old. But there are so many more 12-year-olds braver than I was, who do take action and do take steps. However, I did not, and nor did anybody else. But the most impactful was not just what happened to her, was the fact that lots of people stood around and laughed. They kind of thought it was humorous. That was 40, 50 years ago. We won't say how long, a long time ago. Today, I don't think people laugh. The powerlessness that I felt as a child is something I think was transformative to me, that I never wanted to ever feel that powerless again. And we are not powerless. You are not powerless. I am not powerless. We can all stand up for those that are more vulnerable, for those who need us, who just need another direction. We can be somebody's mentor. We can be somebody's friend. We can guide them in the right direction. We can support them in community ventures. Because all it takes, what I see that transforms survivors is a sense of community. Because it's when they're alone and isolated and the abuser that's done their harm tell them all the time that they don't have value, they don't have worth, nobody's going to believe them, nobody's going to hear them. When they are trapped in that world, they stay and they stay stuck. When they step out of that world and then they get surrounded by a community who cares and believes in them, they move forward and they break the next cycle of violence for the next generation. And that's really what it is. I can tell you, if you want to know if things have changed, I don't know. The rate of survivors, well, I can't even say survivors, the rate of women still being killed in the state of Kentucky is the same as it was 40 years ago. But what has changed has been the community response. And when I first started this work at a shelter, when I was a baby, which I have no idea why anybody paid any attention to me, I was 21 years old. And I was helping women who were 50, looking at me like, who are you? Right? And so part of my response had to be go, I know I'm young. I know I haven't lived a long life, but I just want to be here for you, right? But most of my clients at that time were anywhere from 45 to 55 years old and had teenage children or grown children. They waited to leave their abusive relationships until the children were grown or out of the home. Today, if you come to our building, you will see nothing but littles. In my building, we love them, but they tear up everything. We are filled with children under the age of 10, basically. It is rare we even have a teenager in the building because what has changed is survivors have taken a clear message that the community has told them they do not have to stay, that it is not their fault, that there are other choices. You do not have to leave your children in these situations for 18 or 20 years before you can flee and get out, that the courts will support you, the police will respond and obey by the protective order, that there is now a system in place. It's an imperfect system by far, but it is a system that did not exist when I first started this work at all. The most we had was a shelter. And if you could get there, you could stay there 30 days. And if you couldn't find somewhere else to be, where do you think they went? Back home, right? Today, we don't do that. We don't have lengths of stay. I have people with me 6 months sometimes, or a year. Had a few when they move into transitional housing with us 4 and 5 years until they're truly able to stabilize. We don't just stop the process. You don't get into a violent relationship, over a period of time and then just walk out 30 days later or 60 or 90 days later and it's magically over. It is a process. And everywhere they bump into determines, I tell my staff this every day, every interaction we have has an impact. And we have to decide what kind of interactions we're going to have, right? And that is true. So if a survivor calls the police and they don't respond, it has an impact. If the survivor tells the neighbor, and the question is what did you do to deserve that? What do you think they do? They don't tell anybody anymore. So if we believe we don't have an impact, we do. Survivors reach out for help all the time. They tell pieces of their story to their family, to their friends, to their colleagues, to their bosses. And all they're waiting to hear is, it's not your fault. You have help. There's help available. Let's make that call. So Greenhouse 17, we evolved from you all and your support and your continued support. And I hope we continue to evolve. We still have other things. We just started an LAP program with 2 of our police departments where we're doing lethality assessments on every single domestic violence call, trying to save lives in more of our more at-risk communities. And then we're making sure they have shelter. The last thing I will say, and I'd love to take questions, you can always ask questions, is that it's important that that we're always moving and kind of changing with the times and what's happening, because survivors' barriers change as well. What they were 40 years ago is not what they are today, which is why we have to continue to do that. We're really blessed to be a part of this community. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. I thought I would be here about 6 or 7 years, get a program off the ground. But I just haven't been able to leave. It's now been, over 21. So, y'all have questions? You're awfully quiet.
Just curious, you mentioned system, being imperfect. Is there anything happening in the legislature right now that you should be aware of?
That you all should be aware of? Well, bills have been moving a little slow, so I do a great deal on that end because I'm fortunately or unfortunately one of the oldest members of our state coalition. So I've been thrust into that whole role of legislative world and legislative chair. I just testified on bills this morning, actually. So House Bill 418 just came out of committee. It's a really important bill because these gaps in systems have created like this influx of providers who have no domestic violence training. So we have people popping up all over the state that are providing a private supervised visitation, but they don't know anything about domestic violence. And I'm like, somebody's going to die because you're going to go and do a supervised visitation, not know that you're dealing with an abuser or what that looks like to the victim or the family or have the history. So it's going to require training for individuals like that as well. We've working on other bills. The other one that just came out of the House, well, not out of the House, just out of committee, will go to the floor soon, is to make it a 10-year protective order. So if I get a felony, so if I'm a victim and my abuser is charged and convicted of a felony, I will automatically be able to request a 10-year protective order. Currently in Kentucky, protective orders are only good for up to 3 years. But if you've had a felony and somebody's had to go to prison because of their actions against you, we've asked the legislature to consider a 10-year protective order. Just not automatic. A victim should request it. If they don't want it, that's their choice. But if they do, they should be able to have 10 years. Because most people will be out of prison within 10 years. And if I went back, let's say my abuser got a 5-year sentence, and it's probably out in 3.5, somewhere in there. I would have to go back to the court and ask for a protective order. But if nothing new has happened, I may not qualify for a protective order. And then I wouldn't have the same protection. And then they could get out of jail and not really be restrained from me. So we're trying to fix that as well. But there's about 900 bills right now in the legislature. It's a busy time. But those are our two that have moved from the House to the Senate. And then anytime you want to call and say domestic violence services need state funding, please call your legislators and tell them that. We would very much appreciate it. I will say our legislature is very supportive of us and our funding, but we are part of statute. So this always being at risk of money, and I'm looking at my good friend over here, Child Advocacy Center, we're always at this risk. Running a nonprofit agency is not for the faint of heart. It's just not. It's a guessing game all the time.
With that, how many families or how many people are staying with you at a time on average?
So we are a 42-bed facility and we average around 50 day in and day out. So don't tell the fire department. No, I'm just teasing. They don't care. We do have beds for that. We're good, but we're always over capacity. We cannot keep up with the demand. I could build a 200-bed facility and it would be full. That is not what we need to be doing. So when I talk about forward thinking and different thinking, we need to start rethinking what we do in domestic violence, because what we're doing is working for a lot of survivors, but it's not necessarily changing the social. It's younger is changing, but it's not really changing the social dynamic. It's not stopping. We're not seeing a slowdown necessarily in intimate partner abuse. So I think we need to work really hard to keep families in their own community. So I spend a lot of our resources keeping people in their home communities if I can do that safely. So if I can put in a Ring camera, if I can do door blocks, if I can change windows, or I can help you move apartments, or we can work on accountability through the court so that the abuser can't have access to you. If I can keep you in your church, in your schools, in your sports clubs, that is ideal. Building 200-bed facilities is not ideal. Putting 200 traumatized people together would be a lot to manage, let me tell you. So we really need to find a way to continue to figure out how we as a community keep our survivors safe in their home community. And when it's not possible, that's what shelters are for. So we will always stay full, but we have 15 other shelters that we utilize and help across the state. We all do the domestic violence work. On top of that, we have local homeless programs, and then I use hotels. So if somebody's in danger, we will help them for sure. Thank you all so much. So y'all put me off the game.
Well, just a minute, first of all, thank you so
Wait,
much.
that's the check.
Oh, okay, I can't have. Darn it, I tried. It worked the last time. Darling, that was fantastic. And you've really, truly motivated us. And thank you for honoring us for being with us today, because she had to pull a hard stop with legislators. You know how that is. Councilman Brown knows how that is. But bottom line is she's here, and we really appreciate you being here. And we certainly appreciate your story. To honor you one more time, we're going to give you from our world-renowned photographer, a lithograph from Bill Strauss. So we thank you very, very much again.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much.
If anyone has a question or two, you can come up, I guess,
Yes.
and ask later on. With that, we're dismissed. Thank you. Get that.